17 centuries ago, a Roman emperor didn't just move his throne, he imagined a whole new city, then built it from nothing. That emperor was Constantine the Great, and his bold creation was Constantinople, now known as Istanbul. The tale of this city isn't just about stones and streets, it's about strategy, power, religion, and vision. From choosing the perfect location to laying out roads and raising mighty walls, Constantine designed his capital to stand the test of time. And it truly has. So today, let's journey through a city that began as a forgotten Greek town and became the heart of empires. As we walk through its history, architecture, and enduring influence, let's uncover how one man's blueprint still shapes urban life today, and how Constantinople remains one of the greatest testaments to imperial ambition ever built. The emperor behind the vision. Born around AD 272 in the region we now call Serbia, Constantine the Fur grew up as the son of Constantius Chlorus, a senior officer under Emperor Diocletian. When Constantius died in AD 306, Constantine's legions immediately hailed him as emperor. That proclamation plunged the empire into nearly 2 decades of conflict as Constantine faced rival claimants and secured his claim through a series of hard-fought victories. By AD 324, he had emerged triumphant as the sole ruler of a reunified Roman Empire. His reign brought major changes, like he reorganized and strengthened the army for better field efficiency, overhauled the tax system to secure a steadier flow of imperial revenue, and perhaps most importantly, ended the legal persecution of Christians by granting Christianity official status. Through these acts, he laid the groundwork for an era in which the empire's structures, military, financial, religious, shifted profoundly toward his bold leadership vision. But above all these reforms, Constantine felt the need for a capital near the eastern frontiers, away from the overcrowded and politically volatile streets of Rome. He envisioned a fresh seat of power that would offer both strategic oversight of border threats and a symbol of his new Christianized empire. Why move the capital? Now, at the dawn of the 4th century, Rome truly groaned under its own weight. More than 500,000 people squeezed into its ancient walls, filling narrow streets with a ceaseless flow of traders, bureaucrats, and soldiers. Each corner seemed crowded, shopkeepers hawking their wares, scribes carrying official decrees, and legionaries marching to their posts. Food supplies often ran low, and when grain deliveries arrived late, hungry citizens took to rioting in the Forum. Political unrest flared up as factions fought over scarce resources and influence. Far to the east, Rome's provinces faced a very different challenge. Persian armies pressed against border forts, and local governors urgently called for reinforcements. The existing eastern administrative center at Nicomedia, today's Izmit, had served as a forward headquarters for some time, but Constantine saw its limits. Thus, he dreamed of a new capital, a city grand enough to match his vision, conveniently placed for rapid military response and commanding the busy sea lanes between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. Such a site would ease the burden on overcrowded Rome, bolster frontier defense, and showcase imperial authority over land and sea alike. So amid Rome's growing pains and eastern threats, the idea for a fresh seat of power began to take shape, one designed to address both domestic strain and frontier insecurity. Discovering Byzantium now. Byzantium began around 657 BC as a modest Greek trading outpost. Located on a rocky peninsula, it had 2 excellent harbors, the Golden Horn to the north and the Sea of Marmara to the south. You could see its 7 hills rising gently, recalling the look of old Rome. It commanded views across busy waterways, but the settlement remained small. Crumbling walls, broken towers, and narrow dirt roads spoke of past glory lost. Only a few thousand people lived among simple houses and open fields. It was a quiet place, where travelers paused briefly before sailing on. Little did anyone know its fate was about to change, because to Constantine, everything looked different. He saw empty land rather than worn stones, low hills rather than steep walls. He imagined wide avenues instead of narrow lanes and stately public forums in place of rubble. For him, Byzantium was a clear page, waiting for an imperial story to be written. So he chose this little village beside the water as the site of his new capital. Laying the foundations on May 11th, AD 330, Constantine staged an elaborate dedication ceremony for his brand new capital city. Imperial records named the site Nova Roma, New Rome, though residents swiftly adopted the title Constantinople, honoring its founder. To prepare the grounds, the emperor acquired farmland, vineyards, and dilapidated buildings from local landholders, clearing and consolidating property for urban development. He commissioned planners and architects to chart a network of broad avenues, public squares, and civic centers. Construction crews arrived by the thousands, hauling stone, laying foundations, and raising columns. Wages were paid, materials transported, and labor camps established to sustain the workforce. According to contemporary historian Eusebius of Caesarea, Constantine himself walked among the construction zones, examining the work and intervening when necessary to maintain high standards of engineering and decoration. His oversight ensured that streets were straight, drainage channels functioned properly, and monumental buildings reflected Roman architectural excellence. The city plan Constantine's planners employed a familiar Roman checkerboard pattern, adjusted to follow the peninsula's contours. From two wide thoroughfares that crossed at a central plaza, tree-lined boulevards stretched toward the main land entrances. The Grand Mese Boulevard linked the Golden Gate on the western ramparts to bustling docks on the Sea of Marmara. Between these lay square insulae, roughly 70 meters along each side, where ground-floor arcades sheltered shops and workshops, and upper stories housed families. Key civic structures like thermal baths, basilica halls, and open-air forums flanked the primary streets, offering spots for commerce, worship, and public gatherings. Rising above all were 7 gentle hills, echoing the hills of old Rome and giving newcomers a comforting sense of familiarity. This integration of local topography with imperial design created a harmonious cityscape admired by travelers and citizens alike. Visitors often marveled at how ancient Greek foundations provided a sturdy base for precisely laid Roman streets and elegant public buildings. Constantine's walls. Next to protect the new capital, Constantine ordered the construction of the first defensive wall encircling the landward edge of the peninsula. Stretching about 6 kilometers, the ramparts combined brick and stone to form a barrier roughly 10 meters tall. Protruding towers appeared at regular intervals, about every 35 meters, offering platforms for lookouts and archers. In front of the wall, engineers dug a broad moat to slow down attacking siege engines and troops. 4 primary gates pierced these fortifications, each bearing its own name. Blachanae to the north, the ceremonial Golden Gate to the west, Charisius on the southeast side, and Region toward the south. Today, careful archaeological work under Istanbul's Fatih district has uncovered the buried foundations of this original circuit, proving that Constantine's earliest bulwark still survives beneath the modern streets. These hidden remains reveal how his defensive design laid the groundwork for centuries of lasting security and urban growth. The Forum of Constantine, moreover, at the heart of the new city, lay the Forum of Constantine, a plaza shaped like an oval measuring roughly 250 by 150 meters. At its center rose a 35-meter column crowned by a shining bronze statue of the emperor himself. Around the plaza, elegant colonnades provided space for bustling shops, law courts, and rooms where the city's senate convened. Elaborate, massive, triumphal arches marked each entrance, offering grand gateways for visitors. Residents gathered here to celebrate festivals, listen to public speeches, and attend daily legal trials. Although earthquakes and fires destroyed much of the stonework over time, archaeologists in the 1900s excavated the site. Their digs uncovered ancient sections of column drums, fragments of paved flooring, and the bases on which statues once stood. These finds confirm the Forum's original layout and remind us of its role as the social and political heart of Constantine's city. the Great Palace. Next to the Forum, Constantine laid out the foundations of the Great Palace, sprawling across 4 of the city's 7 hills. Within its walls rose vast palatial reception rooms crowned with gilded vaults, alongside intimate chapels where Christians prayed privately. Guests dined in spacious banquet halls, and the imperial family rested in luxurious apartments. Floors sparkled with intricate mosaic patterns, and halls were supported by elegant marble pillars. From elevated terraces and lush gardens, one could admire sweeping views of the Bosporus. In centuries that followed, later rulers expanded the complex, adding new worship spaces, vibrant mosaic decorations, and service sections for staff. Though centuries of conflict and construction have left the palace leveled and buried beneath Sultanate, archaeological excavations exposed fragments of multicolored floor tiles and ornate column capitals. These discoveries offer glimpses of the palace's former grandeur, revealing the dazzling artistry that once decorated the heart of Constantine's capital, the first Hagia Sophia. Also in 325 AD, Constantine ordered construction of the first church dedicated to holy wisdom, known as Hagia Sophia. Erected near the Great Palace walls, this early basilica featured a timber roof, a central nave flanked by 2 side aisles, and imposing marble columns brought from Asia Minor. As the official cathedral of the Patriarchate, it made clear the emperor's support for the Christian faith. When devastating fires struck the structure in 404 AD and again in 415 AD, it was rebuilt both times, maintaining its essential design. Although no part of Constantine's original building remains visible today, archaeological surveys and later architectural choices confirm its footprint. However, the foundations and orientation laid the groundwork for the grand edifice that Emperor Justinian later erected in AD 537, whose soaring dome and decorative mosaics continue to define the iconic silhouette of Istanbul's historic skyline. This transformation marked a turning point in Byzantine architecture. The Hippodrome. Next, Constantinople's Hippodrome, created around 324 AD, became the city's hub of sport and show. Shaped like a giant U, its seating rose in tiers around a long track capable of holding nearly 100,000 people. Each event, like thrilling chariot races, solemn religious parades, and lively public games, drew crowds from every corner of the empire. At the track's center, a low barrier known as the Spinner showcased eye-catching monuments such as the ancient serpent column brought from Delphi, the tall carved obelisk of Theodosius shipped from Egypt, and a gleaming bronze quadriga. Beyond sport, the Hippodrome hosted political gatherings and grand imperial ceremonies where emperors addressed their subjects. Over time, buildings around the arena gave way, and today's Sultanate Square follows its original footprint. Yet those very spina monuments still rise from the stone, silent witnesses to the cheers and gasps of crowds that once filled this vast, vibrant space. Gateways to trade. Additionally, Constantinople's prosperity rested on its bustling harbors. Emperor Constantine reinforced 2 principal ports, the Prosphorian along the Sea of Marmara and the Kontoskalion. Sturdy quay walls and watchtowers lined each waterfront, while floating booms across the inlets barred unwanted ships. Docks teemed with grain from Egypt, olive oil from Bithynia, wine from Thessaly, and exotic spices imported from India. Nearby customs houses recorded every cargo, collecting duties that filled the imperial treasury. And in the heart of the city, the mint-stamped coins with Constantine's image, spreading his reputation across every market. Centuries later, marine archaeologists have lifted long-lost anchors and revealed submerged keystones, linking modern divers to Constantinople's ancient sea trade. These underwater relics provide tangible proof of the city's role as a link between East and West, where strategic engineering and international commerce joined to create one of history's richest capitals. A city of many peoples. Also from its first day, Constantinople welcomed a mix of cultures. Neighborhoods formed around communities of Greeks, Armenians, Syrians, Jews, and Latins, each group shaping daily life. Greek rose as the everyday tongue for government offices and church services, while Latin hung on among soldiers and court officials. In grand basilicas, Christian clergy argued over scriptural meaning, even as traditional pagan feasts continued to find a place in the city calendar. Citizens mingled in public bathhouses where heated pools and marble benches encouraged conversation and companionship. Meanwhile, rows of taverns and cafes filled the narrow insular blocks with laughter and debate. Together, these influences created a cultural blend unlike any other. Ancient Greek artistic traditions met Roman legal customs, and both wove into the fabric of a faith-driven society that would become the hallmark of Byzantine civilization. Church-emperor relations under Constantine, the connection between the emperor and the church changed completely. In 325 AD, he summoned Christian leaders to Nicaea to settle the Arian debate. He paid all expenses for the attending bishops and provided his own palace as their meeting hall. After the council, he passed laws giving clergy relief from taxes and banning offerings made to pagan deities. He also supported new church buildings, providing funds and labor to expand the faith's presence in cities. By appointing church officials and granting them legal privileges, Constantine made sure that Christian leadership held real power close to the throne. This close partnership meant that the emperor and bishops worked together on matters of doctrine and state policy. From that point on, Christianity enjoyed official backing and grew rapidly throughout the empire. The emperor's policies not only ended earlier persecutions, but also made the church a key player in governance. In forging this alliance, Constantine set a new standard. His reign marked the rise of a state where religious faith and imperial authority were tightly linked, shaping laws, society, and the character of the Roman world for centuries. This partnership influenced church and state relations throughout medieval history deeply and permanently. Fortress City. Now, Constantine's original ramparts and Theodosius II's later outer walls formed two strong rings of defense around Constantinople, protecting the city for centuries. In 626 AD, Persian and Avar forces attacked by land and sea, only to be repelled by those walls and the fearsome Greek fire that burned on the water. During the Fourth Crusade in 1204 AD, Latin knights managed to force their way through weakened sections but could not hold their gains against Byzantine counterattacks. More than 2 centuries later, in May 1453, Ottoman cannons finally battered holes in the ramparts, allowing Mehmed II's troops to pour in. Even then, defenders made use of the very towers and gates that Constantine's engineers had raised. Under Ottoman rule, many of those battered towers were repaired and incorporated into new fortifications. Thus, Roman military craftsmanship endured, its stone walls and towers continuing to guard the city under successive empires, from Byzantine to Ottoman capital. However, after the 1453 conquest by Mehmed II, Constantinople was reborn as Istanbul, the new Ottoman capital. Instead of demolishing its historic core, Ottoman rulers repurposed key landmarks. Grand Christian basilicas such as Hagia Sophia were converted into mosques, preserving their majestic interiors. The old Great Palace grounds became Topkapi Palace, where sultans received dignitaries and ran the empire. Ancient aqueducts and vast underground cisterns continued to supply fresh water to public fountains and hammams. Skilled Ottoman builders erected baths, madrasas, and caravanserais atop Roman foundations, weaving their own cultural layer into the ancient city. Today, landmarks like the Blue Mosque and Topkapi Palace stand framed by surviving Roman walls, creating a living bridge between empires. This blending of structures and traditions highlights continuity and change across centuries in a single urban fabric. Modern Istanbul, today's Istanbul, sits atop layers of history. Tourists wander through Sultanahmet, stepping over mosaics fed by Constantine's aqueducts. In the districts of Fatih and Edirne Kapı, long stretches of Theodosian walls still rise. The Istanbul archaeological museums display column fragments, statue heads, and inscriptions from Constantine's era. Restoration projects, backed by UNESCO and Turkish authorities, stabilize ancient walls and uncover hidden cisterns. Urban planners strive to balance heritage with growth, ensuring new roads and buildings respect the city's Roman spine. Lessons for urban design. Now, Constantine's city offers lessons that still matter. Centuries ago, Constantine picked a spot for his capital that served both defense and trade. The city sat on strong ground, yet stood at a key crossroad of sea routes. He laid out streets in a clear grid, balancing wide, important avenues with quiet side lanes for homes. From the start, he built an efficient water system, created public squares, and planned housing within easy reach of markets and temples. His sturdy walls and gates formed a protective circle that guarded the city for over 1,000 years. By weaving together government centers, places of worship, and busy trade areas, Constantine shaped a city that could adapt to change and survive challenges. Even today, architects and urban planners study his design when they update old town centers, blending modern needs with historic charm. Constantine's methods remind us that smart city planning can outlast rulers and stand the test of time. Conclusion. So, building a city from scratch is rare. Building one that endures for 17 centuries is almost miraculous. Constantine the Great did both. From empty fields and ruined walls, he raised a capital that outlasted his dynasty, his faith's earliest buildings, and even the empire he led. Today, as you walk beneath the arcades of Sultan Ahmet or sip tea by the Bosporus, you stand upon his vision. Constantinople, Nova Roma, remains a living tribute to bold leadership, thoughtful planning, and the power of empire to shape the world for millennia. Now, if we ask you, what are your thoughts about Constantine, the Roman emperor who built a city from nothing and it's still standing? Share with us in the comments section below. We would love to read them. Also, if you like this video, share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel for more interesting content.